I wanted to talk for a minute about masculinity and femininity, and especially how I view it inside of my relationship with my trans femme wife as a trans masc person. And we really were just talking about like femininity informed masculinity or masculine informed femininity and why we both have that and why that works so much better in a relationship for us. Like, we both lived as the opposite gender and assign ourselves a different one, and live as that now. And so it's like, what I mean by that is my masculinity that I now have is femininity informed. I lived as a woman. I know what that's like. And so my masculinity is very femininity informed. And it's not like if you're AMAB and you identify with being male that you can't be femininity informed. In fact, you so can. And to be the opposite is not very manly, is it? To know nothing about women, to just not know anything about how the female experience and what it is to be AFAB and what it is to move through the world as the opposite gender, to know nothing of that. That's not very manly. That's not very wise. That's not very intelligent. You're leaving a lot of stones uncovered and you're kind of blinding yourself. Those things aren't very manly in my opinion. So my masculinity is very femininity informed because I think that's the only way in which I can accurately cooperate with someone else of a different gender presentation than my own, such as my wife, who identifies as feminine, but her femininity is masculinity informed because she was AMAB and grew up being assigned that gender of male, and so understood that experience from the inside. And I think there are ways of doing that even if you're not trans. I think even if you're not trans, if you identify with the gender you were assigned at birth, if you're cis, I think you can still inform your gender of the other gender. And I think to do so is really just holistic. And I think the people that are telling you otherwise have a vested interest in you not being whole, right? So I don't know, we find it very holistic. I find myself to be a much more holistic person, having a femininity informed masculinity. I know that my wife finds herself to be a much more whole person, having a masculine informed femininity. It just feels like choice and freedom and like autonomy. That's really what it's about. And so I just think that having an understanding of all sides of something is holistic. So that's really what I had to say about like masculine informed femininity and feminine informed masculinity, and why I think that's a good idea, not just for trans people, but for all people, for us to coexist and be kinder to each other and be more understanding of each other's experiences. It's just like, that's what leads to that. That's what leads to empathy. And I think it's incredible to have empathy for people who are different from you. And again, don't know why that's crazy for me to say, and why people are always so mean to me for having that in my heart, but that's what's in my heart. So anyway, that was my thought.